I'm Scott Baker. Thank you for being here, too. Thank you for giving up your time and being here for this event and to support this very important cause. So it was January 24th, 2012, and I knew something was seriously wrong when my sister responded to a garbled email I'd sent her by picking me up at work and driving me immediately to the ER. As we waited, the doctor approaching the glass doors was the same doctor that saw me 3 months earlier. We reviewed my symptoms, including the latest, which was my inability to communicate coherently through email. And he reviewed my health history and immediately ordered a CAT scan with contrast dye. I knew I was looking at a life-altering experience. Dr. Shapiro, an NYOH physician who administered my auto stem cell transplant in 2007, came into the room to see me after he learned that a brain tumor showed up on my CAT scan. It felt good to see a familiar and trusted face. He ordered an MRI. I was admitted to Albany Med. Later that day, I had a seizure, and then I had surgery to biopsy the tumor. The diagnosis was a very rare disease called primary central nervous system lymphoma. I was hopeful at first we'd beat lymphoma twice, but then my hope was quickly dashed when I went home and researched my disease. The prognosis is dismal, and a patient can expect to live 12 to 18 months with treatment, were two sentences found in every medical journal abstract. Our boys were just 5 and 7 years old at the time. I walked into my 7-year-old's bedroom to say goodnight. He said, "Daddy, are you going to die? Is there medicine for you?" I was not prepared for that question. But I told him, "Yeah, I'm going to be all right. There is medicine for me." And that was a low point in my life. I'd not only lost hope for the first time in my life, but I thought I may have just lied to my son. But that put an idea in my head somehow. I picked up my iPad and I researched PCNSL survivors. And I found a man named Barry Gates who had survived my disease 4 times in 10 years. He invited me into a support group of survivors of my disease. That group gave me hope. I wasn't so alone anymore. But I felt like I wanted to be treated locally, to be close to home. The kids were so young, with a doctor that I was familiar with. And I chose that. We were elated to achieve remission after 5 rounds of treatment. But then after a couple, 3, 4 weeks, my health took a turn. After experiencing double vision and extreme short-term memory loss, I blacked out for 3 months. I don't remember a single second from the summer of 2012. My last memory was when my boys gave me my first iPhone as a Father's Day present. My wife later told me that I was no longer getting out of bed by August. She would get me up each day to eat, but I could no longer find my way back to our bedroom. So she would find me somewhere in the house sleeping. I was like a zombie, completely reliant on my wife for everything. 3 months later, I woke up to my wife feverishly packing a bag. "Where are we going?" I asked. She calmly explained that my brain cancer had returned and that we had been at Sloan Kettering for 10 days before coming home from 8, and we were going back down for a second round of treatment. A feeling of peace poured over me in that moment. I had no recent memories, specific memories, but I had a sense that Sue and I had struggled tremendously, but that she still worked very hard to get me to the leader in the treatment of my disease. lost myself. I don't remember the drive to New York City that day, but I remember stepping out of the elevator on the neuro-oncology floor. It was like I stepped into a different world where everyone seemed to know me and were concerned about me, yet I had no recollection of them. I would spend 7 weeks over the following 3 months on that unit with 42 other brain cancer patients. My experiences there changed my life forever. The first thing I learned right away was that every time I walked out of my room to take my laps with my IV pole, I could never find my room. I had to ask people. And I was amazed by the number of people that I had around me that were looking out for me. I was immensely grateful for these folks that would always be there to help. So I learned how much I needed people, and that's never left me. And I learned that it's okay to ask for help. My roommate had stage 4 melanoma with brain metastasis. And during week 3, I listened as he and his wife worked very hard to restore his cognitive abilities. I had learned that he was an actuary, but he had lost his ability to understand numbers. This was devastating to him. I was devastated for him. One morning, I heard a struggle on the other side of the room, but I froze. The nurses rushed in, a group of nurses, to help him. He was having a seizure, a major setback. My face fell into my hands and I cried for this stranger, right on the other side of the curtain. There was nothing I could do for him. I was completely helpless myself, but I was very grateful that we had these nurses that would swoop in to help us on a moment's notice. I felt an enormous sense of empathy for this man, and that was all I could offer. During week 4, my roommate, who had not been out of bed in 6 weeks, was diagnosed with my disease, which at that point had my cognition in such disarray, I couldn't figure out the number of minutes to the top of the hour when staring at a clock on the wall. I stood up to take my laps, and as I was pushing my IV pole through the doorway, there stood my roommate's elderly mom, looking up at me with teary eyes. She said, "You give me hope for my son?" A few minutes before, when I couldn't figure out how many minutes to the top of the hour, I really wondered, what will I ever contribute to the world again? But her words gave me hope. They gave me purpose. Next came an opportunity for a lasting remission with a second auto stem cell transplant. I would be in isolation throughout the holidays, but it was my best chance. On the 5th of 8 consecutive days of chemo, I felt my life slipping away. A nurse's aide named Tanya walked in, and after I explained to her that I believed I was living my last hours, she said the perfect words in the most passionate way. "You are too strong to die in this room. You will not leave your boys," pointing at my little boys on the wall. "You will walk back out through that door." So basically, she yelled at me. But it was perfect. She turned me around 180 degrees in an instant. Things became far worse due to complications from chemotherapy, but I never again doubted I would survive. After her Lombardi speech, I laid my head back and thought, well, I guess I'm stuck here for a month in this room. And I thought, how will I be at peace with this? I'm in unimaginable pain. My mind is clouded. I can barely walk from my bed to the bathroom 10 feet away. And then it occurred to me, people are going to walk through my door, great people, and I can have an amazing experience with every one of them. There was a girl named Well, in 2012, going through brain cancer, I began to look at all people as human beings first and foremost. My nurses were human beings who happened to work as a nurse, the same as my doctors, the cleaning staff, everyone. A girl named Danielle came into my room every day to sterilize it because I had no immune system to protect me from infection. One day, a code blue is announced over the intercom, a common occurrence on the transplant unit. Danielle looked out through the window in my door and said, "This place really keeps things in perspective for me, makes my problem seem silly." Over the next 3 or 4 weeks, Danielle shared her struggle with me. And the way she was able to frame it in a positive way inspired me to do the same through my most difficult days. The brain cancer made me lose myself, my cognition, my physical abilities. But the people, the nurses, the doctors, everyone that came through my door, friends and family, all the people who cared for me through that battle, changed my perception on how I want to live my life. I learned that employing one simple statement by Dr. Wayne Dyer, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. My world really does change. And it requires no one else to change because I am changing myself. And this is a daily practice, believe me. But it puts me on the right path. Today, providing hope for others is how I enjoy and cherish life through my work with Wicklund Warriors. I owe our founder, Deanna Wicklund, a debt of gratitude for giving me the opportunity to provide hope for others. And I thank NYOH for my first 2 remissions and for being with me through my recovery from my second transplant for several years. And I thank all of you for coming to this event and supporting us and listening to our stories. Thank you.